All right, good morning. So this is Deschutes County Board of Commissioners meeting for 9 a.m. Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. First item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, I really like taking that moment and doing the Pledge of Allegiance. It kind of gets you really focused on serving everybody. That's kind of my mindset there. At this time, citizen input for items not on the agenda. We do have a request to speak from Mr. Ron Bozel.
Good morning, commissioners. This is Rondo. I've lived in Bend and Deschutes County for 27 years. I attended the compensation meeting, the compensation committee meeting a few weeks ago. And I'll just cut to the chase. I was really surprised when Judy Trago made a motion to basically ignore the recommendation on the table that said that the commissioners should get a competitive raise to $142,000 approximately from $135,000, which is what you're being paid today. So she did some interesting math and said that county is hurting for money, and I'll be really frank. I don't know what every voter's mind, but this voter just said, hey, I'm voting for 5 and I want them paid what everybody else is already being paid right now. I think it's fair. It's a tough job. I respect you guys, what you do, and I can't imagine how you have a real personal life while you have this job. So my immediate reaction was to disagree and to sit there with my mouth hanging open. Well, pretty quick vote. I don't remember a real debate on it. Just as soon as she made the motion, it was seemed like the room was going to vote for it. So, of course, it falls to you next month to thumbs up or thumbs down. I can't imagine me voting for my paycheck to go from 142 down to 85, which, by the way, for the room, the math is your present paychecks divided by 5 for the 5 commissioners that'll be here next year, or at least will be a campaign for next year. So I'm here saying there's one more reason to make this a thumbs up, and I don't know if you can seriously consider that when you come up to this next few weeks to whether you're not going to vote for this or not. I don't know if I would. I can't sit in this kind of judgment. That's not where this conversation is coming from. But you, at least 2 of you, have really exclaimed in a lot of different ways that you're going to follow this president and his intent and his acts with Elon and Doge. And the libertarian in me says, okay, well, let's see it then. Let's see the $85,000 paycheck. And you can make a real statement with that, and people will really believe you about these other things that you say that you're for. And I just think it'll up your credibility a lot. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rondo. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to remind the taxpayers of Deschutes County that for some reason, I opted out of PERS 7 years ago. I've saved the taxpayers over $150,000 to date. So I'm incredibly aware of what things cost. And I did make that decision, and I've stuck with it this whole time. But some days I really wonder. So thank you for allowing me to say that, though. It's been over $150,000 that the county has not had to fund me through PERS. So.
And I'll just say that I'm not getting paid 135 right now, and the bump for me wouldn't be to 142 because a couple of years ago, when the same elected officials compensation committee proposed an exorbitant pay increase for the county commissioners while we were tightening our belts everywhere else, I refused that pay cut, that pay increase. So for me, it would be a reduction from a lower level to 85. And if you really want to know what I think about this, I will say right now that if the county wants to economize and still have the 5 commissioners that the voters overwhelmingly demanded, one way we could do it would be to make 4 of the positions part-time. And you could cut them to $71,000 and have one full-time, at-large chair, something like that. And that would accomplish the pretty much the exact same amount of spreading of salary dollars among 5 commissioners. So we'll see if the members of the elected officials compensation committee are interested in that proposal.
Is there anyone else for citizen input in the room? Is there anyone online with the raised hand feature? Okay, so seeing none, at the next item is a consent agenda.
Move approval of consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
Commissioner Dare, and the chair will vote yes. At this time, item number 6, Deschutes County Sheriff's Office vehicle fuel purchases. Thank you for joining us today, gentlemen.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us. So more than 250,000 annually on fuel.
Yes, sir. I'm Captain Ty Rupert with the Deschutes County Sheriff's Office. One of my functions is overseeing our automotive unit. We had budgeted $600,000 for fuel. It is in the budget. We are over that now. We're approaching $400,000 worth of fuel usage to date. We still have a couple, 2.5 months to go until the end of the fiscal year. So we're just coming before you to ask for that additional approximately $200,000 left in our budget to get us through the end of the year. I think we'll come in, Pete obviously is our automotive director, fleet manager. And so he's pretty confident that we'll be close to that $600,000 mark at where we're at right now.
Great. So yeah, keeping the rigs on the road. I know that they, basically idle the whole shift, don't they, when people are out there?
They do, sir. I'm actually glad that you bring that up. One of the things that we've done since January, Pete has tried for years to get the vehicles to reduce the amount of idle time. Not so much when they're out on the road, obviously, because the deputies are working, but when the deputies are back at the office and they're in writing reports, trying to get those vehicles shut down. And it's tough because the computers will shut down, and if there's a priority call, then they got to reboot them and get going after a certain amount of time. Anyway, within the last couple of months, that has been taken very seriously, and I've noticed a drastic improvement in the fact that our vehicles are being shut down at the substations when the deputies are working. And so just that savings alone that Pete calculated out would be in excess of $60,000 to $70,000 a year that we'll save just by reducing the amount of idle time. The other thing that does is it reduces the wear and tear on the engine and the components of the vehicle. So I know I've been keeping an eye on it as I walk in the morning, and I recently made a comment that I was proud of Patrol because I've noticed that they're taking it serious and they are shutting their cars down. So if we can save $60,000 or $70,000 a year in that one easy decision, then that's what we're trying to do.
Great. Yeah. And I understand, kind of the procedure and protocol to get systems back up as you're rolling, because you want to be able to respond quickly, obviously. So
Correct.
I'm not asking to, compromise any of the efforts out there. Just acknowledging that. I remember seeing it's like, well, how they're idling all the time, basically. But yeah, a little bit of report writing and shutdown time.
The fact that I think oil just went down, 67 or something. I mean, it's way down now. So that, of course, that always takes longer to get into the price, right? That seems like it takes forever. And when it goes up to 80, it goes up really, really fast. But it has really gone down considerably.
And my goal, I certainly don't want to go over budget, because like I say, we budgeted 600,000. If we approach to where we feel that we're going to go over that, then we can make an adjustments on the deputies of asking them that last month or so just to reduce the amount of drive time in between calls, maybe have a little more sit time. But either way, we'll see. I don't think we'll get there. I think we'll be okay with the 600. But yeah, we're just here to ask for that additional amount today, which has been budgeted for.
Well, please.
I'd just like to learn a little bit more about the procurement process for fuel. Are we, do we get any kind of a volume discount or a bulk discount on?
So we're actually right now, Pete's in works with Heather, working on a new contract with fuel. So we are looking into that. Moving forward, we are looking, we're shopping everything, especially on the automotive side, whether it be fuel, whether it be tires, whether it be decals for the cars, which is a recent change. We're trying to look at every place that we can to try to reduce our operating costs. So yes, sir, that is being looked. He has the documentation, but he is currently working with Heather right now on that.
So we currently don't get any kind of a volume or bulk discount, but you're
Currently.
okay. Got it. Yeah. Well, good luck with that. Yeah.
Well, the big picture is the budget path is kind of narrow for all levels of government at this point in time. The future's unknown, but yeah, let's make sure we're working together and, as I say, keeping the deputies with the resources they need, obviously, but shedding light on it also.
Absolutely.
And we definitely need to slow down the traffic on Highway 97 because those people are, the roundabouts now, I think, really slow you down going from here to Sisters. But going to Bend to Redmond is quite, it's an interesting drive.
We recently had a traffic safety, you probably saw it on the news with
Yes.
OSP and Bend and such in Redmond. We do have a plan moving forward at our office. We have a CAT team that's currently in place. We want to get to a point that we can dedicate more of a traffic team to where they just focus on traffic as well as assist the deputies if needed. But I think that presence of enforcing that, whether you issue a citation or not, it's more about education than a citation. So we are hopefully in the future year or so, we'll be in a position to be able to do that. Right now, we're trying to get enough staffing for patrol, so we're not so short all the time. But the traffic is definitely at the top of our priority because they do drive fast. So
You can be going 65 and you look like you're going backwards.
exactly.
Yeah, it's an amazing drive to go to Redmond.
We have a graph here that just shows from fiscal year 15. The only year that we went over was in 2020, over that 600,000 mark. All the other years were around that 400, 425, and so on, until we got up to 23, 24, which we know fuel went up. And even those, we didn't go over that 600. So that's why I'm pretty confident that we'll be okay this year.
So our motion for this discussion is just to authorize Sheriff's Office to expend more than $250,000 annually. So it's kind of a generic statement today, but it's that level of contracting that we're acknowledging in our board meeting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And is this motion just for this year or is this for moving
Yes, sir.
forward?
Just for this year.
How come I don't remember, I mean, you're already at 400,000 for the year. Did we do an earlier one of these?
I don't believe so, sir. I wasn't
fiscal
part
year.
of the command staff at that time.
During budget season or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but we're trying to follow the rules and make sure that we're utilizing our chain of command, and you guys are obviously, and ladies are in that, so that's why we're here today.
Yeah. I mean, for efficiency, I mean, at some level, it would make sense if you're budgeting 600,000 and then we approved 600,000 that you should be able to use 600,000 and not have to come to us and seek authorization. But I'll leave that to the fiscal administration folks.
But I think it fits back to our policies, the fact that if the Board of Commissioners is acknowledging items that are larger than 250,000, then at the end of the year with our annual fiscal statements, we can say that, yes, we approved and reviewed and approved anything that was over that. So I think it's kind of just the procedure of acknowledging for our annual big picture after action financial review. I don't know if Robert, if you want to say something there.
Oh, and I would like to comment that a couple years ago, I know they made the policy to have the deputies have their own car and take it home and park it in at their house. And to me, I thought that was really an excellent message to the community that we have law enforcement and they're out, they are in your neighborhood, hopefully.
Yes.
So, one of my neighbors thought it was terrible. And I was like, no, don't you understand that actually gives safety to people that live in our community?
It does.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Robert Tintel, Chief Financial Officer. Yes, we do have limits that we are set by policy of when the department heads can approve up to $50,000. Nick, as county administrator, can approve up to $250,000. Then anything over $250,000, whether a contract, PO, invoice, does have to be approved by the Board of County Commissioners. So yes, you may have the full budget authority within your budget, $600,000. But if you have a contract or an invoice or whatever over $250,000, those would have to be approved by the Board of County Commissioners. And with this authority, if you went out for a new contract, we could see, obviously, the board has approved this already as well.
Yeah, so that's what that was my next question, Robert, was so if 250 is the policy, and we didn't hear about this from the sheriff's office earlier in the fiscal year. If we had approved this earlier in the fiscal year, when we were about to exceed $250,000, would it have to come back again within the fiscal year, or is it just a one-time thing?
I think that's a difficult question. In fact, because I think we have an exception in our, and I don't know if Kim has that up in our ordinance or policy, where when we approve a contract and then you're purchasing an inventory at a time, there's an exception in there for that. So I would have to pull out some of that detail to make sure. But in general, the answer is yes. The board would approve any contract over $250,000 before we would spend that amount. Is where I think where your question.
And then you wouldn't have to revisit that again.
Yeah.
Later in the fiscal year.
Yeah. And there are limits when if you're amending a contract, then you wouldn't have to go to the board for the additional authority at that time if it's within certain limits of the contract as well.
Yeah. I'm just, to echo Mr. Boozel's concerns about government efficiency. I'm just trying to figure out how we can make sure that we're doing this and we have appropriate controls, but we also are making things as efficient as possible.
Exactly. And that's the benefit, as you reference, working with Heather, our procurement manager, has really done a lot. And this is a result of some of the work that she's doing as well, not only to bring efficiency, but to reduce costs and find savings where we can. Thank you.
Commissioners, I'll just offer the controls are incredibly important, and we are in such good shape with those. So a department head must approve it, finance reviews it. If it's a contract, legal reviews it. All that happens before it comes to me, and often legal or finance will be, if I don't see something that I understand or is a question to me, I'll go back and every single time they will have already reviewed it, and when it gets to my approval list online, it's already done. But sometimes I also make sure that I fully understand what it is that I'm approving and what the steps have been taken for it to arrive on my desk. So we have a really great system in place. The only other thing I would just like to say is, Captain, it's always great to see you. Pete, we don't see you, our fleet services manager, here very often. And I just want to take the opportunity to thank you for the great work you do for us. And I appreciate Captain summarizing some of what you've done to minimize the idling and things of that nature, which do help save dollars for us with fuel and other good stuff. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well,
One last comment, sorry if I may. In addition with the new sheriff as well, the process has changed in the workflow and approval. So now with the sheriff's office, all the procurement and purchases and approvals are coming through finance before they're moved on. And so before we weren't seeing those, but now with the new workflow and working with our procurement manager, they're in the workflow. So we see those before the purchases are made. So we can help assist and find items before they're actually purchased.
And that's probably especially valuable right now with the business manager gap moment that we're in. Right?
It has been. It gives us that extra set of eyes or oversight to where they do come downtown before we see them back. Mainly because we've got a lot of changes, everybody knows, and making sure that everything is being taken out of the right budget or the right object code or different areas. Having that extra set of eyes is definitely helping. So, and we appreciate it. Yeah.
Robert, do you know what the number of FTE the sheriff's office is still short? I mean, is that going the right way?
I don't have the current number. I will when we come.
Shortly?
Yeah. We'll have the current updated number as of March 31st.
Okay, right. But it's only the 9th of April. So I know we haven't seen that number yet, but I'm just hoping that some more positions have been filled.
And not to go off subject from the fuel, but real quick, I believe we have 6 patrol and background currently. So one of the things that we've done under the new command is traditionally we would wait for a process to close on hiring, and then we would start the interview process and such, and it would take a long time to get that done. And we were losing great employees to other agencies, whether it be Bend or Redmer or OSP, because it took so long. And what we're doing now is we worked out with downtown HR that weekly they're able to pull those applications. And so we get an applicant that applies today. We're doing an interview next Wednesday. At the end of that interview, we are making a conditional job offer pending background and all that. And so we're able to tie that employee up and get that process moving very quickly. And so over the last 6 or 7 weeks, we've actually extended 6 job offers, about 1 a week over the last 6 weeks. There's only been 2, I believe, that we haven't extended an offer to. That's the first time in the 20 years I've worked here that we've had that kind of expediency on doing that. So now we're not losing good employees to other agencies.
Thank you for sharing that. That's really outstanding. Thinking out of the box and how can we get the good employees before they go somewhere else. So great job. No, that's really, that will make a difference.
And we'll have the FTE numbers for you, obviously, when we come to budget. We know where we're at on that. We know that we have to be cautious with our hiring and not overhire. So that's all being taken into consideration. So we have those, but I just want to give you that on the 6 that we do have. And there's others in the correction side also, but I can speak directly for the patrol side because I've been involved in those.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
great. Well, along the lines of doing a great job, as I say, I was able to tour with Pete about 4, 5, 6 months ago now, and just understanding the shop over there, the mountain of tires. You just went through the changeover, so I know that was probably a huge, big project. We're still working on it, yeah, for sure. So, but keeping all those vehicles in good order, ready to go, understanding what you do in-house, how you partner with the private companies out here for getting larger projects taken care of. So a lot of vehicles, a lot of efforts every day. All those, the upfit too, is just amazing, getting a vehicle from the dealer and then putting all the bells and whistles, kind of literally, and the electronics in it. So big project out there. And then search and rescue is another whole branch too. I know. Okay, great discussion today. Is there a motion?
So move authorizing the sheriff's office to expend more than the $250,000 annually for fuel on vehicles.
Second.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, Commissioner Dare,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
and Chair will vote yes. Thank you very much. Good discussion today.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. Item number 7, Deschutes County Sheriff's Office purchase of mobile data terminals for patrol cars. Another group of familiar faces. Welcome.
For the record, my name is Jonathan Spring. I'm the for the Deschutes County Sheriff's Office. Good morning, William Bailey, Administrative Captain for the Sheriff's Office. We come before you today to review a quote and approve purchase for a vast majority of our mobile data terminals, which are the computers in our vehicles. These machines are the critical piece of technology used by our deputies when they're out on the road. They interact with the CAD system, the records management system, and several other regulatory compliant systems through the FBI that requires us to have current versions of Microsoft Windows running on them. So the 97 machines that are included in this list to be replaced are currently running Windows 10. As you guys might be aware, Windows 10 ends support from Microsoft in October of this year. So in order for us to be able to have these running current versions of Windows, which is Windows 11, we have to replace them by October. One of the other benefits of these particular units that we've been able to do is we've put them in front of our patrol deputies as they've been able to test them. So we're finding that compared to the existing ones that are being replaced, the footprint for them is a little bit smaller in the vehicle. So while the screen size is the same, the physical footprint is smaller, so they can actually see over the dash a little bit easier when they're driving around. In addition to that, they have more brightness controls on them. So they're able to turn the brightness up or down depending on what the sunlight is during the day. They're able to see them easier in direct sun. They have wider viewpoints of being able to see them when they're sitting in different parts of the driver's seat or the passenger seat. In addition to the physical footprint for any of our two-man vehicles, or if they're being trained by an FTO, the person sitting in the passenger side has less equipment infringing on them when they're in the vehicle with these. They're also less expensive than what we have been buying in the past. So these are Dell units, whereas we've been buying Panasonic Toughbooks in the past. So the Toughbooks are about 1.5 times more money than these are. So all those reasons together is why we've arrived at using these particular units. Going into budget real quick, although this wasn't initially forecast in our initial budget, we did find savings in other parts of our budget to be able to cover this cost for this budget cycle. The benefit of buying them now is we can get them in and start getting them configured and rolled out before the October deadline when the current ones are no longer supported. With that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Can you explain a little bit about this hard upgrade requirement in the world of Microsoft? I mean, is it truly like a hardware security something, or what are they doing there?
Windows 11 by Microsoft requires certain hardware components in your computer to be able to upgrade to that version of Windows 11 instead of the Windows 10 platform. This is consistent in the past where you've had to upgrade from like Windows XP to Windows 10 or Windows 7 to Windows 10. Microsoft basically arrives at a point where there's certain features within the operating system that requires specific pieces of hardware to be in place for that upgrade to be supported. Right now, they're actually rolling out automatic upgrades for devices that are on Windows 10 that can support Windows 11. So in our particular case, we did an evaluation of the totality of our inventory to arrive at which ones specifically do we need to replace. And that's why we have identified these 97.
So it's truly a hardware requirement, because
Correct.
I always just think of it as, you know, once you could do, you know, full screen video and there was enough horsepower to kind of do anything you'd want to do as a task on the machine. I'm surprised that there's a hardware requirement step these days, but that's the world we're in. And it's for security purposes. That was my understanding.
Correct. So there is a regulatory piece from the FBI that we have to abide by for any device that transmits or receives criminal justice data, which these certainly play into.
Yep. So for security purposes, basically.
And
Great.
the other units, I mean, I'm tracking how you can't load Microsoft 11 onto them, but does that just become e-waste? Or
For the most part, yes, unfortunately it does, because the majority of the applications we use at the sheriff's office have a Windows requirement for being the base of what it runs on. We have to use machines that use it. So we've tried to, as on a case-by-case basis, identify where we could potentially reuse machines in other ways that wouldn't be under the CJIS requirement. But unfortunately, that's a very small percentage of our overall asset deployment.
It's not like there's a market for used laptops.
No, sir.
Is this okay?
Well, there'll be a market, but they're $100, $200, $300, and we're buying $2,500 machines to put in there. Yeah.
No, I just want to track the e-waste flow. So I'm
Correct.
sad to hear that nobody else nobody else can use them necessarily.
Any other questions or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the document number 2025-346 relating to the purchase of updated mobile data terminals for the sheriff's office.
Second.
Any other discussion? Seeing that,
So you will get them in time, though. I noticed that you just have to, you've been confirmed with the price and so,
A
good.
very good relationship with Dell too. So we've been getting equipment in very quick from them.
Great.
calling for the vote, Commissioner Dare,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
and chair votes yes. Thank you very much. We'll go get
Thanks for
some new
coming in.
I
hardware.
was just chuckling about the relationship with Dell, and it's probably a good time to buy electronics that depend on imported components.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Item number 8, acceptance of grant funds for wolf depredation and financial compensation.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jen Patterson, Strategic Initiatives Manager for Deschutes County. I am here today just to provide a little bit of background. Oops, I had the wrong report pulled up, of course. I'm here twice today, so I had the other one pulled up. So the Deschutes Board of County Commissioners established a Wolf Depredation and Financial Compensation Committee in May of 2023. Since that time, the committee has been meeting on a regular basis. And each year, Oregon Department of Agriculture opens a grant opportunity for grant funding. There's 3 categories of grant funding. One of them is for confirmed depredations or injury to livestock or working dogs due to wolf depredation. That is a retroactive grant, so it's for any depredations, in this case, that happened in 2024. And the second category is for missing livestock, missing livestock or working dogs due to wolf depredation or due to wolf activity. That's also a retroactive grant. So for the fiscal year of for the calendar year of 2024. The third category is grant funding to implement livestock management and non-lethal wolf deterrent techniques to limit or prevent interactions between wolves and livestock. So the committee meets on a regular basis. We have statewide experts who attend our meetings who work out in the field with ranchers and producers. And for this grant cycle, we opened it up for anyone who wanted to submit grant applications. We did not receive any grant applications for Category 1 or Category 2. And in fact, for 2024, ODF&W confirmed that they had not received any reports for any depredation or missing livestock at that juncture. We did have grant applications from several different producers throughout the county looking for non-lethal management techniques, as well as the committee applied for grant funding to be used in partnership with Wildlife Services and ODF&W. So that grant was submitted back at the end of February, and we were noticed at the end of March that the Deschutes County Wolf Depredation and Financial Compensation Committee was awarded $50,000 in non-lethal grant funding. So I'm just here before you today for consideration of accepting those grant fundings. And if the committee, or excuse me, if the commissioners vote to accept those funds, the committee will then be meeting on April 21st to determine distribution of those funds.
Okay, so it's called a working dog, but it wouldn't be someone's, if you don't have cattle, you just have a dog, that if that dog is killed, because as I shared with you, my neighbor had two wolves circling his dog on Saturday, right by me. And apparently Oregon State Police was there yesterday with ODF&W, and they were putting up cameras, et cetera, et cetera. But if that dog is killed, that man is just out his dog, correct? Because it's not a working dog? Or what if you lose?
That's not technically correct. The committee could consider that as a portion of the missing funds. So there's been some discussion statewide about similar type scenarios. I meet regularly with other staff and committee members throughout the state, and there's a wide variety of scenarios. And there's a a large lenience there for how the grant is written for if the committee decides to accept grant funding for or grant applications for a variety of situations. So that would be up to the committee to decide to accept that application and move that forward. But there is a lot of leniency there between the committee work and the ODA requirements are pretty, they leave a lot of room for committee work to determine what's the best path forward for compensation.
And Jen, I think we were talking about this too. What do you tell people if their dog is attacked on their property and it's a wolf? What can they legally do in Deschutes County?
So as I shared with you in the email as well, there's a variety of things. I spoke with the ODF&W wolf biologist this week who covers Deschutes County as well as other places. And there's several factors. So first and foremost, the strong encouragement is to report that incident immediately. The sooner that the wolf activity, if there is wolf activity in the area, the sooner that's reported and ODF&W can go on site, the better it is for them to be able to address those situations. And there's a variety of non-lethal measures that a producer or a homeowner could take in that case. So it sounds like ODF&W was out there, per Aaron's suggestion, was they can put up wildlife cameras to see what kind of activity is going on there. We have Fox lights available throughout Deschutes County, which have been used for specific instances for deterrence. And some of those Fox lights were in fact purchased through the Wolf Committee, and they've been distributed to ODF&W and Wildlife Services. They're reusable. They're used for specific cases where incidences are occurring for deterrence. So we leave that up to the experts to work with those who are being directly affected on the ground. But those are two deterrences, and I would strongly recommend. I'm happy to share ODF&W's wolf biologist contact information. There's also a new semi-new as started funding in December, a non-lethal wolf specialist who is assigned through Wildlife Services. He covers Crook, Jefferson, and Deschutes County, and he is on the ground as well, working with producers and ranchers throughout the area, and he has a lot of expertise in implementing non-lethal preventative measures there. So I can connect your neighbor directly with those two, but it also sounds like potentially if ODF&W was out there yesterday and they were made aware of the comments you provided to me on Monday, it sounds like they are out there as well to work with those. So in a lot of these cases, they're individual cases about what activity is going on and how that impact is affecting individuals and animals on their property. So I wouldn't want to speak specifically to that case, but generally speaking, those are some instant measures that can be taken.
Just to kind of add to what Jen was saying, it's really important if people are, having conflicts or concerning interactions with wolves, for them to report those to ODF&W, so that the agency can dedicate more resources to tracking the wolf activity in that area. In some cases, they can even catch one of the wolves from a group and collar them, so they can really kind of basically understand like patterns of where the wolves are going, so that they can better prepare people in those communities to be able to avoid or prevent conflicts. So just if there's concerning activity on the landscape, just please have people contact ODF&W.
Yes, but then again, that colored wolf in Lake and Klamath County killed 12 calves and the calf and cow were killed at the end. So that was 12 animals that were killed, and they knew what was going on. And, to me,
And it was ODF&W who killed that, who went out and killed that wolf.
Right. But it was after 12 cows and calves had been just decimated. So, I feel so badly for those ranchers, because you could just see the frustration in their messaging to someone to please do something. And they'd seen it and it kept happening. So, yeah, I think that was just really took way too long.
But
I remember when my personal Aussie was being surrounded by 4 coyotes one time. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to, they're going to do something. But my friend has a big dog that was, surrounded by two. He thought 90-pound wolves. He said they were younger wolves. So he's just lucky he still has his dog.
So 132,800 was requested, $50,000 was awarded, and then we're in a spot to receive those funds today.
And
And just sorry.
didn't you also just say that there was a kill out by Brothers? And what about funds for that kill then? Where
Yeah,
were
so
they come
I'll first talk to Commissioner DeBone's comment. The maximum award amount that ODA, they have a formula and they have a bank. So first of all, they pay out the depredations at 100%, then they pay out missing funds, and then they do a proportional amount left over for non-lethal preventative measures. So their max award for non-lethal preventative measures was $50,000. So Deschutes County did receive the max award for that. And yes, there was a confirmed depredation back in March in Deschutes County. So this would be the second confirmed depredation from a wolf over the last few years. And depredations are paid out retroactively. And so if that producer would like to apply for funds to get compensated for their depredation, they would apply for it next year. And speaking with the wolf biologist, it's not publicized who the producer is, but in speaking with the wolf biologist, I asked them to let them know about our next meeting and their committee, and please feel free to invite them and have them come be part of the conversation if they would like. And they would be eligible potentially to apply for or to use some of those non-lethal preventative measure funds that are available right now.
Yeah, but to be a little bit more specific, we'll be having discussions, if that producer comes to the table with the committee, we'll be having discussions with them this fall to get their submission in late January, February, sometime around there in 2026 for them to be compensated. So it does it's an annual cycle. And unfortunately, this depredation occurred right after we had submitted the application for this year. But just to put this $50,000 in perspective, it's valuable to review the history of the way that wolf activity, the way that this program has been used, the way that the committee has engaged in Western Deschutes County, because I think we can say we have a success story there. So we had in Western Deschutes County, we had depredations and missing animals in 2023. We formed the committee. The committee was able to secure funds to compensate that livestock producer for their depredated and confirmed depredations and missing animals, and also get that producer prevention dollars. That producer deployed those prevention dollars and some of the, a significant amount of their own funds. And then in 2024, that producer did not experience any depredation. So I would take that as an example that these prevention dollars can be deployed effectively to reduce conflicts between livestock producers and wolves. And that's the whole point of the program. So with the requests for this year, that the $50,000 would be distributed towards likely are in Eastern Deschutes County, in the area where this most recent March confirmed depredation occurred. So I would hope that we would see a similar cycle. We have concerning wolf activity. Livestock producers alert the committee, ask for support. We submitted prevention fund requests. We get prevention dollars. We can deploy those in Eastern Deschutes County, and hopefully reduce the amount of concerning wolf activity and preventing some, at least. I don't know if we can prevent all depredations out in that area with $50,000, but hopefully we can prevent more than would have otherwise been prevented. So that's a kind of just a discussion of the history of this program in our county and its effectiveness, hopefully in support of moving forward acceptance of these funds.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to accept $50,000 in grant funds awarded by the Oregon Department of Agriculture for wolf depredation and financial compensation committee activities in Deschutes County.
I do have a question. That new legislation, this SB 777, that funding, I believe it's 5 times the value if it's missing. Will that go into effect for this money? Will we be able to, if that does pass, will we be able to use those compensations?
I believe it will go in effect for 2026. I believe, I have to go back and read the legislation, but if it went into effect in 2026, then it would be applied to the depredations that happened in 2025.
Okay, all right, I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Good discussion. Is there any other discussion?
Oh, I did see somewhere that people were seeing elk in Deschutes County that they hadn't noticed before. Let me tell you the story about where I'm from in Hebner. I drove home a couple summers ago, going home by San Hollow, and there are 4 bull elk. And that's where I grew up. I had never seen an elk there. And then it made me realize when I heard the story about the elk coming out of the mountains, going into the wheat fields, because they leave where the wolves are running. So, if you're seeing them in different spots, they want to survive too.
So seeing no other discussion, calling for the vote. Commissioner Chang.
Yes.
Commissioner Dare. And chair votes yes. Thank you. Next item, Jen's on this one too. So item number 9, fiscal year 26 video lottery fund allocations.
Great. Jen Patterson, Strategic Initiatives Manager. So just a very quick background. Each year, the board develops an expenditure plan for anticipated revenue from the county's portion of video lottery proceeds for the upcoming fiscal year. I met with the board on April 2nd to discuss allocation of those funds, and there was a little bit of a shortfall between available funds and grant requests. And so I just had to do some proportional math. I was directed to reduce proportionally the grant requests from 3 different pools, and I didn't want to do that on the fly and not have it be correct. So I'm back here just to quickly review the final grant allocations. I'm going to share my screen here as soon as here we go. And you do have a copy of this in your packet. I believe we were still at a $2 plus in the packet. So I worked with
$2 there.
I worked with finance to get it to exactly a $0 balance here. So what ended up being the difference between the allocation requests once the board had the discussion and the amount of funds left available was basically a 9% change, a negative 9% change to 3 pockets, which would have been economic development, the chamber support, and the service partners. And so they all just across the board took a 9% cut from each of those pools of funding. And then to balance those $2 that came out of the EDCO Regional Capacity Operations Support. So that was at 153,819. I think it was 153,817 in your packet. So we can go line item by line item here again, or I'll turn it over to you on how you would like to, how much detail you'd like to go into this discussion.
My only observation is I thought we were trying to hold, I had assumed that we were at economic development flat and we were going to distribute that percent decrease to those other categories. But that was just kind of what I thought we did during the meeting. And you did exactly what I was envisioning, try to figure out the number and do the percentages there. So I don't know if.
I specifically said at the end of that meeting that I thought if we need to find that last $65,000.
I remember that.
We should take it out of everyone, including EDCO.
Any thoughts, Commissioner?
I believe that's what we said.
And so that's fine. As I say, I knew we needed to do that across the board there. So economic development was included. So, and it hangs together well now. So thank you so much. Are there any proposed changes? Any edits that aren't digestible by the board? These are good flexible dollars for folks to go do good work, and we're sure spread it out there for a lot of different purposes.
Agreed. Yeah, it's really disappointing that we have to give all these great organizations doing important work in our community a haircut, but with the substantial amount of debt service for the county that we're trying to cover out of this video lottery dollar allocation, there's really no other way to do this. That's yeah, that's fair and continues to meet all of these diverse community needs.
So, and this is a kind of a little chunk of the budget, but it's discretionary for the Board of Commissioners. So should we make a motion to accept it? Or I mean, it's so that you're not asking that specifically here, but
Nothing is recommended at this
yeah.
time.
But I mean, that'd
Sorry.
be good for
We,
the,
we put that staff report together very
Yeah,
quickly
so,
because it
yep,
was due
just the original, not a problem.
after or before.
So this will, yeah, kind of accept this version of the distribution as presented. Is there a motion?
I'll move for the Board of Commissioners to accept the proposed allocation of video lottery funds for fiscal year 2026 as presented.
And I'll second the motion, but what if we're 50% into the year, Jen, or maybe not? Maybe we're 5 months into the year and things are really not doing what we had projected. Can we reevaluate at that time?
Nick is giving me the nod. Yes, I'll turn it over to him.
Commissioners, we certainly can, and if we receive additional revenues that we were not previously anticipating, we can revisit it for that purpose as well. We can revisit it for either in either scenario.
And
I
there's
just think we should keep really on top of what's coming in.
and there's a contingency in there too. So even if it does come in less, we'll just have to acknowledge a contingency commitment or changing the numbers mid-year.
And this doesn't flow in like TRT. We're not getting an increment every month, are we?
Maybe.
I don't know that answer, but we do have Robert here to provide support for
We
these
have our
kind of questions.
experts.
Yes.
Commissioners, again, Robert Tintle for the record, Chief Financial Officer. I believe the revenue comes in quarterly. It's not monthly. And one thing personally I'd recommend is since we are reducing the reserve or the fund balance by about, I think it was $300,000 we ended up with. So if additional revenue does come in within this next year, we might want to replenish that. But and then because that would also give you the full amount next year to allocate as well. But we could revisit, obviously we can report on those numbers at any time you wish, but that's the thing about always keeping that year in. So we always have funding for that one additional year.
Thank you.
So I think for the last few years, basically it hasn't come up because it's trended close to what we expected. So, I mean, as long as it's there, we kind of don't hear about this throughout the year. So, and we could ask for it at any time. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
Commissioner Dare,
Yes.
and Chair votes yes.
Thank
Now
you.
we can share that with the world. Well, it's already been shared with the world.
Public, yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. So at this time, other items. Yeah, a lot of activity these days, but I guess I didn't really quite prepare.
Oh, I did have a meeting with some homeowners in Deschutes River Woods. I find it interesting that we have 400 miles of county roads, of which 100 miles are in those 19 special road districts. Anyway, and the good news was I did talk to Ben Fire yesterday. They're going to review this stretch of road that's quite untravelable, and it's a real consideration for the people that are living in that small stretch of land. And then I think we really need to do something about burning regulations. We need to remind the community what they're actually allowed to do, when they can do it, how close they can do it. And remember, there a lot of times those burning pits have gotten out of control and really caused some problems. And it's now April, and there's going to be a lot of grass out there with all of our rainfall. So, if we can do something, I know it's not quite our area, but yet if there's a fire, then it becomes our area. And I did attend the Rascal Rodeo on Saturday, and that program will be back to Deschutes County for the circuit finals for the Columbia River. It's an amazing program. And I want to acknowledge Jesse Brown, who is, I think, number 3 in the nation for steer wrestling, but Channel 21 called him a barrel racer on their headline. So his family gave him a really hard time over that. Anyway, Jesse Brown, great guy, played football for Washington State, and now is one of the professional cowboys that you will see at Rascal Rodeo every time. He believes in it, and he's a great supporter. And he also thanked us for bringing the circuit finals back from Yakima. So the professional rodeo cowboys and cowgirls are really happy to be able to come to Redmond every fall for that event.
So just, you want to share something, Commissioner?
I'll just say in terms of legislative testimony from the last few days on Friday evening, I went down to the Ways and Means committee listening session at Warm Springs and urged the committee to develop an adequate and effective wildfire funding package for the state for the next biennium. And then yesterday, Tuesday, I testified about this bill, House Bill 1154, which deals with groundwater quality protection, and I didn't testify. There was a lot of people who were opposing and supporting the bill. I didn't really testify to support or oppose the bill, but I said, particularly, I emphasized that we would like to have the option to be able to extend water or wastewater district services beyond urban growth boundaries and urban unincorporated communities to be able to address the challenges that we have in our area, because that's one of the things that is being considered under House Bill 1154, or sorry, Senate Bill 1154.
Thank you very much. So I was on quite a run last week. The COIC board meeting was Thursday night. Trying to remember the content of the meeting, but it was well attended. Everybody was engaged in that. Rodeo Thursday night also, so the High Desert Stampede. So Commissioner Dare and I cross paths there. Sled lunch on Friday. All 3 of us were in attendance. Sun River Lapine Economic Development. Commissioner Chang and I were side by side at that Ways and Means Committee Friday night. Also, I spoke on our juvenile secure treatment facility and priority for community justice grants through CJC, and then also Core 3 advocacy. Saturday was Bynum, Congresswoman Bynum's town hall. So Commissioner Chang and I were in the same room at that point in time. Also, yesterday was Sun River Lapine Economic Development strategic planning effort in coordination with EDCO proper. And this morning also, which I was not able to attend because of this meeting, was Reddy's strategic planning / EDCO review for the Redmond area. So a whole bunch of activity between last week and today. Please, Nick.
Thank you, Chair. Christy Bollinger's here, our property manager, and I checked in with commissioners on Monday morning regarding the Foundation for Affordable Housing. This was a topic that I was out on last Friday, and I understand staff was going to discuss briefly with commissioners at the end of the legislative meeting, but there wasn't time. And this pertains to the restrictive covenant and what would happen in the case of a foreclosure with a property. And I heard general support from commissioners to proceed with that, but there was a question about, is there an opportunity for a restrictive covenant for a certain period of time? And Christy shared with me some really great information this morning that I thought would be beneficial for the board to know as we move forward with that transaction. So Christy, if I can turn it over to you.
Thanks, Nick. Good morning. For the record, Christy Bollinger, Deschutes County Property Management. So Commissioner Chang, I think this might have been a question that you had. So currently we have a 60-year restriction on the property, meaning that it has to be used as affordable housing for 60 years. However, the caveat to that is if a lender was to foreclose on the project under Foundation for Affordable Housing while they own it or future owners, then that restrictive covenant that we have on the property would be extinguished. So it doesn't matter if we have a 10-year, 20-year, 60-year restriction as affordable housing. If it's foreclosed upon, that restriction goes away. And Kim and I have worked really closely on this project. So Kim, do you have anything further to add to that? Okay. And then just for clarity too, that restriction mirrors the restriction with Oregon Housing Community Services, which is the 60 years.
Okay. And I mean, does that address the Foundation for Affordable Housing's concerns? I mean, was that what they were worried about?
Yeah, that's basically at this point, the final pinch point was kind of working through that foreclosure understanding. So the county had full understanding that if a lender did foreclose, we would lose our interest in the property.
Okay. And that, as long as that works for them as well, that seems appropriate to me. I mean, my other thought on this was, in other cases, we have completely donated, big chunks of land to affordable housing developers. In this case, we offered them a little bit of a deal, but I mean, it wasn't a huge, it wasn't a huge discount or or a donation. So if what you just described didn't address their concerns, I'd also be comfortable letting the restrictive covenant go, because we're not donating that much to them. So I think it, like the requirements that we put on properties in some ways should be proportional to how much of a donation we're making to those organizations.
And based on the appraised value back in 2023, excuse me, they offered 500,000 and it appraised out at about 723,000. So that represents about a 31% discount.
Okay, that's still significant.
And the really good news is they added 10 units for veterans in their program. So I think that's really outstanding. I know there's a lot of veterans in the La Pine neighborhood. So really happy to see that happen. Do we need a motion for this?
No, I believe that she would come back with any type of formal action.
Okay, but they needed to have this done because they actually wanted to close like this week, I thought, is what Tommy had told me.
Yeah, they want to close this.
Yeah, they want to close as soon as possible.
I mean, I think you gave authority for Christy to sign the documents, and I don't know if there's any other finalized documents that are coming after this.
I don't believe so. I think everything that we're just currently working through with Foundation.
And I think the prior motion will stand.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christy.
Chair.
Mhm.
And I don't want to steal your thunder. You and I spoke about a series of
Oh, I
potential
forget.
proclamations.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I can turn that over to you, or I can
Well,
summarize.
if you have the list, there's just a bunch of proclamations coming up. So please provide.
Okay, I will. Thank you. So Saving Grace asked that we provide a proclamation recognizing April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And so we'll bring that back in short order.
So this is just for all of us to hear for future agenda items. as
Exactly.
commissioners.
For
Yep.
next week, most likely we would aim to do that. There's also Emergency Communications Month. And next week, our 911 service district will recognize the month with telecom, as they refer to it as Telecom Week, from April 13th, Sunday, through Saturday, April 19th. And this is just a great opportunity for us to recognize the extraordinary work that Sarah Crosswhite, our Director of 911 Service District, and the entire team do. And how incredibly valuable it is to our to the safety of our community. We have a couple of others. One, we have Dark Skies Week coming up, which is the week of I believe it's April 21st to the 28th. So we can talk about whether we want to do that one. And then it's what we all do. It's National County Government Month.
So this one's
It's the
kind of
month
more
of
for
April.
discussion. So that one, do we want to do anything specifically? Because we could make a proclamation or we could do anything else around that. For County Government Week, it is, or month, it is April. I'm already looking at scheduling up just a little bit of time from some different departments and kind of celebrating the work we do.
And our public information team is on top of that, and they're ready to take some photographs and help recognize the work that we do to serve our county every day.
So as I say, for my fellow commissioners, if there's a scheduled time or a department or a function of the county you want to go shed light on, now's our opportunity for the next couple of weeks. We can do that with support and some little bit of advertising or, advocacy. Anything else?
I don't have anything else. Thank
So
you.
the other thing is 50 years from Vietnam at the end of this month, April 30th, 1975. I know there's already been some Vietnam veteran efforts in the county proper, but we could do something at the end of this month also. So that's just sharing that concept. We also have Vietnamese community in Oregon sent a note saying, how about some recognition, just acknowledging the history here. So that could be put together a little bit at the end of this month. So a couple weeks from now.
Oh, yes, I actually attended on Saturday, a week prior Saturday, for the Vietnam Veterans Memorial at the Deschutes Memorial. And it was incredibly well attended. The weather was actually really nice. So there was no wind that moment.
It comes and goes this.
Yes, it was, but no, the people that were there, how they were treated when they came home, is really a tragedy because they were Americans. So, what we can do today, I would really appreciate doing something to recognize them. It has been 50 years.
So yeah, say a couple weeks from now, we could put something together.
Yeah.
I know there's
And what did we
Vietnam
lo-
Veterans of America, VVA.
Yeah, we lost, 58,000 veterans or
Yeah.
Americans in Vietnam, 58,000.
So yeah, that's just for information, so everybody hears all that. So next week we'll have a few of them.
Good.
Anything else? So at this time, we do have executive session scheduled, a couple different items.
The Deschutes County Board of Commissioners will now convene an executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660. The specific authorization for this executive session is ORS 192.660, subsection 2D, labor negotiations, 2E, real property negotiations, and 2I, employee evaluation. Designated staff and the media are allowed to remain during the executive session. However, the media may only report that the board met in executive session and the identified basis for the executive session. Recording devices are not permitted. No final decisions will be made, and at the conclusion, we will open the doors and invite the audience back into the room.
Okay, we'll be back after these sessions. Okay, 11:54, April 9th. We've just come out of our executive sessions. Please proceed as discussed. Is there anything else?
Nope.
So seeing none, meeting adjourned. Thank you.